Welcome to the weekend warm-up on the winners enclosure. I've got Chris Dixon with me now. And Chris, what a weekend in store. It all kicks off. We've got 3 Group 1s, 2 of which are classics, and we've got weather that matches too.
Absolutely. If you can't enjoy this as a racing fan, then you're not going to enjoy a great deal. Classic weekend's always something a little bit special, and the Derby and the Oaks in particular, because the Derby and the Oaks, Epsom offers a unique test, doesn't it, of the racehorse. It tests pretty much everything that there is to test in a middle distance horse. Speed, agility and stamina being the key attributes really that it tests more than anything else, but your temperament as well, both before the race and during it, because any sign of keenness in the early part of a race is really exposed at Epsom, because there's such a stiff early part of the race, and then you've got to have the speed and balance to hold your position as the tempo quickens up and you take Tattenham Corner, and then there is a stiff finish that climbs the line. And it always happens in a race that is very rarely run in a complete mess. So, you know, there's an awful lot that goes into being a Derby or an Oaks winner, and it's a fantastic race, and you know, one of my favourite races of the year, the Derby and the Oaks.
And so often a Derby, as you've mentioned, all the challenges that face these 3-year-olds just can bottom a horse. You know, there's so many horses that come out of this race that just don't reproduce anything like that form again, which is obviously sad in itself. But no, we'll get on to the Derby in a minute. It's a truly fascinating race. We'll start with the Coronation Cup, which takes place tomorrow at 3:10. And we're going to have a short price favourite here in the shape of Al-Assi, who's 2 from 2 this year at Newbury. He's been super impressive on both occasions, but this is a big step up, and he's a short price. He's taking on good horses.
He is taking on good horses, and I think given the price that he is, Emma, I'd struggle to be with him. Visually, he has been very, very impressive. You know, you can't fail to have been impressed by how he has looked on the racecourse this season, but he's been doing it in Group 3 company. He's never run in Group 1 company yet, so he doesn't have the Group 1 form. Group 1 races won by Group 1 horses, and I prefer horses that have been there and done it at that level as a rule. The other factor is that he's actually not run a really good time yet. So for all that he's looked very good, I don't think there's real meat on the bones of those performances. And given the price that he is, I'll take him on, I think.
Okay, so the question is, which of the 2 brothers are you going to take him on with? I'm presuming it's one of them, Japan and Mogul. Japan's got some outstanding form. You know, he was a Juddmonte winner back in 2019. He was 4th in an arc. He made a winning reappearance, which was nice to see at Chester. He's a class act on his day. And then you've got Mogul, who was 3rd in the Gannet. 10 furlongs, probably a little bit too sharp for him. But again, some really top form in Group 1s, over 1.5 miles behind him.
Yeah, these are both proven Group 1 performers, aren't they? That have been there and done it time and again. And unlike Al-Assi as well, they've run very well at Epsom. They have form in the Derby. Japan was 3rd in the 2019 Derby. Mogul was 6th in the Derby last year, which I mentioned the Derby is not often a mess of a race. Well, it turned out to be one, didn't it, in what was an unusual 2020 with Serpentine slipping the field. But Mogul just ended up too far back. He did run well to finish 6th, and both horses have handled that track. You're right. I'm basically, it was a toss-up between the 2. I've gone for Japan on the basis of his reappearance win, suggesting that he is potentially going to be at the top of his game, where I don't think Mogul has fully sparkled yet, but I do think that he'll be helped by coming back up in distance. I think Japan won at Chester despite the trip in many ways, and coming back down, I think it's a help to him. And I just look at some of the depth of that form on occasions last year, the run behind Gayathan and Abel in particular in the Eclipse at Sandown. And that is a really strong bit of form. So it's just Japan for me, and he's the Mount of Ryan Moore as well.
It's just Mogul for me, but there's not a lot of confidence in this. I just think Al-Assi at the price is worth taking on. And it wouldn't surprise me either way, whether it went to Japan or Mogul, but nevertheless, a fascinating race and a tip-top Group 1. What about the Oaks that takes place at 4:30? Aidan O'Brien once again here has got a very strong hand. Santa Barbara has been a talking horse for a long time, way before she ran in the Guineas. off the back of just one win as a 2-year-old. She was then 4th in the Guineas, and everyone said, wow, you know, she's bred to get further. My question mark is, I think she'll get 10. She's not definitely sure to get 12 furlongs, is she?
She's not guaranteed to. She's out with Danehill Mare, isn't she? But there is 1.5 mile stamina in her pedigree. So I think she will get it. And I think she ran in the Guineas like a filly that was, one, light on experience, but also sort of running over a trip that was going to be a bare minimum. She didn't debut until the back end of the season in Ireland last year on soft ground over 1 mile. And she was impressive and travelled well and saw a race out very well. So I think there probably is quite a little bit of stamina in the mix. And it's worth bearing in mind that Aidan O'Brien has dominated this race in recent years. And every time that he's had the winner, the question mark that you would have had about the horse that he's won it in 3 of the last 4 winners that he's had has been the trip. Because Love, Minding and Qualify, previous start, all of them over 1 mile. And they were all taking that 1/2 mile step up in distance. And they all stayed it and stayed it well. So on balance, I think Santa Barbara will stay on pedigree. It doesn't put me off that there is such a big step up in trip in one go. And I think the level that she has got to in 2 starts so far is extremely high. And to get to that level at such an early stage takes probably a real high-class horse. And I think there's better to come. So I'm going to go with Santa Barbara, chiefly because I think her price isn't too short now. And I don't really like too many of the opponents.
She's drifted a bit. It's a little bit more attractive.
Yeah, it is. And I thought that Noon Star was going to be the main danger to her. And she's obviously missing out. So I just watched all the trials back and there was nothing that really wowed me. Snowfall was pretty good in the Musidora, but she got very much the run of the race, didn't she?
Yeah, I'm actually going to tip Snowfall against her purely because, to me, she's fascinating. She's improved massively on what she did last year. But that was the first time she stepped up to 10.5 furlongs. And I know she got an easy lead. She's bred to get 1.5 miles, and I think she could improve again. Nothing would surprise me about her. Saffron Beach, I'd love her to win for Jane Chapelheim. I think she does such a good job with a small team of horses. And obviously she was a cracking second in the Guineas. But my gut says she's going to stay 10, but will she stay 12? I hope so. But it could just find her out. And then Zayada for Roger Varian is an interesting horse who ran a cracking trial at Chester. But to me, it's Snowfall. It sounds like you're very much with the favourite Santa Barbara.
Yeah, I am going to go with the favourite. It's somewhat reluctantly, but as you mentioned, that price has drifted a little bit and made it more tempting, really. And as much as anything, it's just the weakness of, not the weakness, but the holes that I can find in the opposition. And Zayada is a filly that I do really like. I like the way that she shaped at Chester last time out. I think she was probably the best horse in that race. She was carrying a penalty and things didn't go away. But stall 1 is a real problem, Emma. I normally try and give you some sort of a stat or pointer in these situations. And stall 1 at Epsom, 0 from 16 double-figure fields over 1.5 miles since 2010. That's a bit of a shocker, I think. So
yeah,
that is enough to put me off the radar anyway.
Yeah, that is certainly worrying. Well, let's talk about the Derby now, because this obviously takes centre stage on Saturday. And this takes place at 4:30. And we've got a short price favourite here in the shape of Bolshoi Ballet. While I can sort of find like flaws and holes in Al Arsi and maybe even Santa Barbara, I think Bolshoi Ballet is very solid indeed.
He is very solid, and I think the big point here is that Ballydoyle obviously think he's very solid because they've taken the rest of their horses out. They were just relying on him. They haven't done that for a long, long time, relying on the one horse, which is a little surprise because High Definition looked like a viable enough Derby contender himself, despite having been beaten in the Dante. I thought that he would improve for a step up in trip, but Bolshoi Ballet has been very, very impressive this season. He's obviously improved a lot from 2 to 3. The time was very good when he romped in by 6 lengths last time out. And like you, I don't really see too many holes in him. I think he's going to absolutely relish the step up in trip. Look at his pedigree. He's going to get at least 1.5 miles. He's going to get beyond that. He's obviously got loads of speed. He's got loads of class. If he handles the track, he's going to win. A bit of luck, I think.
Totally agree. I think he is absolutely rock solid. Unless something goes wrong, I find it very difficult to find flaws in him and to find a reason for him not to win. If I was to put up an each way selection, it would be very much Third Realm, who is a horse I like, won the Lingfield Derby trial. It was a good time. And Roger Varian's been really quite bullish on several updates about him. And yeah, he would be my alternative to the field. Well, let's have a look at the supporting races on Friday. We'll start off with the Woodcut at 2:00. What do you like here? I mean, obviously there's not less, and Epsom for 2-year-olds is tough enough. You need plenty of speed, natural speed.
You do need natural speed, and you also need to be able to get home because it's quite a stiff finish. I think Flaming Rib ticks those boxes, to be honest. Good pace to win at Nottingham. Yeah. Pretty good time on his second start. He's been beaten on his debut, but was conceding experience to a couple on that occasion. He's up in distance for the first time, but I think it'll suit him. There's quite a bit of stamina pedigree. Darrerin for Michael Bell. His form is working pretty well. This will be quick ground. So I like that Oscula and Dusky Prince have both got winning form at Brighton. Similar sort of track that could help them, but Rib for me in the Woodcut.
Totally agree. I'm with you there. I thought he was really impressive winning his novice stakes, I should say, over 5 furlongs at Nottingham, and I think there's a lot to like about him. He made all that day. He's got plenty of natural speed, and there'll be no problem with the trip either. So what about the next race? I quite like the chances here of Storting, who won the Thirsk Hunt Cup last time. This is quite an open race, and this one's £5 higher.
Yeah, and he beat a couple of horses that are probably well handicapped themselves in that Thirsk Hunt Cup. I think he's probably got more to offer this season. He seems a little bit more tractable. He was very keen last year. That kind of horse can often thrive in this environment at Epsom. If the race is sort of at a mile or shorter, it seems to keep them interested or whatever. I think tricky horses can win around here, but he's definitely interesting. I think Irish Admiral is probably going to be quite hard to beat. I think he'll be well served by coming down in trip, and that was a pretty warm that he ran in last time out. But he's just quite short. I'm going to go Hortzadar each way. He hasn't really fired the last twice, including behind Scott at Thirsk, but didn't get the rubber of the green that day. Didn't get it either when on the flank at Newmarket time before that. You judge him on his Doncaster form prior to that, then in the Lincoln, he has got a good chance to finish third that day. So he's run well in this race before for a similar sort of mark. I think he'll run well once again and go him each way at double figures.
What about the 3:45, the Kazoo handicap? Blue Cap went into everybody's notebooks when finishing 5th behind Victory Chime here in April. Really unlucky, as I say, big eye catcher, but is reflected in the price.
It is, but I'm going to go with him anyway because two things. He's got the hood on for the first time, which I think will help him. I don't think this is that strong a race, and for all that he bombed out at York last time out, I don't think that race suited him. He was just too keen. Now, I don't think he will beat this race, and initially I was looking at getting against him, but there are a load of front runners in this field, and I think they're going to go too quick. And ultimately, they just went too slow for him on his first start of the campaign here at Epsom. He obviously handles the track pretty well. And in a race where they go proper gallop with a hood on, I think he's going to finish late and fast and get the better of them. So having initially started out trying to find something to get against him, I thought a good few of them have the potential to put one another's throats, and I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, don't disagree. I thought Dream With Me was a big player, but as you say, there's lots of speed, which could be a worry. This is 3 from 4 this year. His last couple of starts have been impressive wins. He's also travels well. They've been up at air, and it's £7 higher for the latest of the two. But as you say, it could just be all teed up for Blue Cap after that unlucky 5th in the City and Suburban last time. Supporting races on the card on Saturday. We'll start with the 2 o'clock, the Tattenham Corner handicap. And King Frankel is likely to be favourite here. I think, was it you or Martin was at Pontefract when he absolutely dotted up by 32 lengths in a 3-runner race, and then bumped into probably a handicap snip in the Bay in the shape of Bay Bridge in the London Gold Cup last time at Newbury?
Yeah, I think it was Martin at Pontefract for both of his runs early on this season, actually. He bumped into a very nice horse prior to his win, didn't he, of Godolphins, who looks a real strong staying type that could be a legible time. Then he bolted up in that small field. The time of that race was pretty good, and that's the pointer towards that performance being having a bit more substance to it than just the bare form of the two horses that he beat gives you. And then, as you say, what is always a really warm Gold Cup, he ran an excellent race to finish second behind handicap Block. I think he is the horse to beat, but he's been well found in the market. Freak Out, I quite like the look of, but I'm not convinced about him going up in trip, and he's lost the good claim of Mark Crean, so that does make, for all he's got professional handling, it makes life that little bit tougher. I quite like Patient Dream. I'm going to go with him. Won here on his reappearance. The horses that finished second, third, and fourth have all come out and won since. Not necessarily next time, but they're all subsequent winners. So he beat a load of horses that were well handicapped. He's by Al-Kazim out of a mare who stayed middle distances. I think he's going to improve for a step up in trip, and he's got potential in his pedigree, not only to be suited by the trip, but generally to rate a little bit higher. He's got that track form, and he's a fair enough price. So I'm with Patient Dream here, who'd be one of potentially the slightly better bets in terms of value being offered on the card.
Totally agree. I've got a big asterisk beside Patient Dream for all the reasons you've just said. He is £7 higher, but on pedigree, he looks like he's crying out for this step up in trip. I think it will really suit. And the fact what track form, I think, is tick, tick, win. We quite like the chances of him. What about the Princess Elizabeth Stakes, the mile Group 3? Mamara, likely to be favourite here, ended last season winning the Atalanta Stakes over a mile. Slightly disappointing at Goodwood, would you say, on her reappearance?
Yeah, probably was. Probably ended up going a little bit too quick in front, but I think there's potential for the same to happen in this race. There's a few of them that their standout form has been when making the run. And I think that's the case with Memora last year, actually. That Sandown run, which you would probably mark down as her best effort. She got a good front running ride. And I think it's the same with Posted, her best form. I like the look of Statement. You've got to give her a chance to bounce back. The Guineas, where they reverted to, well, they didn't revert, they changed tact and went forward with her. I don't think that really suited, but I think if they ride her the way that they did when she was second in the Fred Darling before that, behind Alcohol Free, then she would have a very good chance. This sort of test could suit her very well, just switched off in behind. She's got a nice draw in stall 5. She's not going to be out the back, but I think a position in touch behind a good gallop could really suit her. And I think that she's still getting a good bit better, and there's more to come. I really like that run at Newbury on her return, to the extent where I thought she was a lively outside in the Guineas, and she got quite well backed and went off one of the market leaders. Didn't give her running that day, but I think she will this time. She's got form on all sorts of ground. She ran very well on a very quick surface at Newmarket last year, so I'm not bothered about the drying conditions either.
Okay, I'm going to go with Mamora, just because she's got some decent form in the book. As I say, she definitely needs to step up on what she did at Goodwood, but I think she's a big player in basically what I marked down as a very tricky race. What about the Diamond Stakes? Century Dream likely to go or favourite here for Team Crispin, last year's Celebration Mile winner, and actually won this race last year, but it was at Newbury. Is that right?
It is right, but he also won it here at Epsom back in 2018, so he's been there and done it twice.
Yeah, yeah.
So they will have targeted him at it, won't they? He's probably going to be better than he was at Newbury on his return to action. I think he's got a lot of positives. Maximal is the horse I'm going to go for. I don't think he's really a 10 furlong horse, and that's what he's been running over so far this season. His couple of starts at Newbury and then at Chester. And I think coming back down in distance in more strongly run race is going to suit him. He's quite a free-going horse, like several of the family of the Dam, the family of Frankel, for example, and Noble Mission. So they're sort of a tiny bit highly strung family, but also ones with loads of talent. A lot of speed, really. And even though he's by Galileo, I think this is a horse that is going to be best at a mile. And Sir Michael Stout's horse is in such good form. I think this race will suit him. So Maximal for me.
I totally agree with you, the trip. That's exactly what I've got. Drop back and trip here looks a bonus. I quite like the chances of Bell Rock each way. Was a good winner over a mile one at Newmarket, I should say, Guineas weekend. Won that day off a mark of 103. Good form last year, 6th in the Hunt Cup, 3rd in the Cesarewitch, and I think just still looks like there's a bit more to come. But no, it would be Bell Rock, I should say, and Century Dream, very much the one I think that sets the standard. Then we move on to the dash. Now, I'm presuming you're going to come up with a trifecta here, because the draw is fairly key, and it's not a surprise the top 4 on the market are drawn 17, 20, 19 and 16. It's very important, isn't it?
It is. A high draw is definitely a big help to you in this race. It's not the be all and end all, I guess, when you look through the recent results, but you'd prefer to be drawn high, ultimately. Sunday Sovereign is the horse I've gone for. Maybe the ground is going to be a bit livelier than ideal, but I think he's a very quick horse, and I think he was only picked off by a well-handicapped one at York when he last ran. He's got Sylvester to the board. He's not going to be given a position towards that stands rail very easily from stall 19, I don't think. And this is a horse that I think he's basically all speed, and that's what you want at Epsom. There aren't many faster than Caspian Prince, who's won it before. He's going to be
my
charging.
gosh, he must be running in this for about the ninth year in a row. He's a standing dish, isn't he?
He is a standing dish, and he's a cracking horse, and he's come back from injury more than once, and yeah, tremendous animal. But he'll be right up there. You always look at it and you think, well, there might be a pace collapse, but it's Epsom over 5 furlongs. Go as fast as they can for as long as they can. I think I'm right in saying this is the fastest 5 furlongs in the world, isn't it? Epsom's 5.
Yeah.
So, you need abundance pace, and I think that is what Sunday Sovereign has got. So I'm going to go with him. What would you like to ride here?
Exactly the same. Big asterisk beside Sunday Sovereign, I should say. Draw 19, I really liked, particularly that second to Pendleton, which, as you pointed out, is I think a progressive horse. Bags of speed, lots to like, good draw, ticks all the boxes, and I can see in a race like this, look, everything needs to drop perfect, which is generally why it's about 7-1 the field, isn't it?
Yeah.
You need to get the gaps, and it's the split-second decision, and it's so quick. It's a great race to watch, but yeah, that would be. I'm not sure it's a race I'll have a bet in, but that would be what I would be doing.
Yeah, and me too. Don't think I'll be having a big bet, but I might have a little bit on him, and if I was going to have a bet, it would be on him.
Good stuff. Well, what a weekend we've got in store. We will no doubt be pouring over unlucky horses and great performances next week. The sun, I think, will continue to shine, and we will very much look forward to finding out what wins the Oaks and the Derby. I'll chat to you next week. Thank you.